We are making a surplus by 2021, and by the way, that's Heritage Foundation mathematics, not 16 trillion, 3.9 trillion over 10 years.
The gentleman's time has expired. Who seeks recognition? The gentleman from Indiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I see where the gentleman's going with his question. I yield 10 seconds of time just to answer it. He claims responsibility in this budget. The only way they can possibly balance, and I don't agree that they will balance in that time, is by drastically raising taxes on every American. That's not responsibility because it doesn't force a choice. That is the definition of irresponsibility, Mr. Chairman. I yield, let's see, 3 minutes to the gentleman from Alabama, Mo Brooks.
The gentleman from Alabama is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a chart before me, and I hope everyone will look at it. It's based on Congressional Budget Office numbers. If you go to fiscal year 2001, you'll see that we enjoyed a $128 billion surplus. At that time, we had a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and a Democrat president. Then, if you'll notice, looking at the bottom, that we had a Republican Congress and a Republican president, and we had the beginning of a series of deficits, $158 billion in FY02, which is immediately after 9/11 and the ramp-up as a result of our efforts to protect Americans from terrorism. Then we go to FY03, 04, 05, 06, and 07. You can see how the deficits have increased to a peak of $413 billion. But then the Republicans start getting things back under control. $161 billion is the deficit that America suffered in FY 2007, and that's not good. Matter of fact, one of the reasons I was dissatisfied with the George Bush administration is because of these deficits. But let's look at what happened after the elections in November of 2006, in which Nancy Pelosi became House Speaker and Harry Reid became Majority Leader of the United States Senate. These deficits, which we were getting under control in FY08, $459 billion. In FY09, we almost go off the chart, $1.4 trillion. Then we lose the White House. The Democrats are in total control. In FY10, a deficit of $1.3 trillion. In FY11, a projected deficit of $1.6 or $1.5 trillion, depending upon who you pay attention to. Folks, we are here today forcing this issue because America is at risk. We are at risk of insolvency and bankruptcy because the socialist members of this body choose to spend money that we do not have. They believe in wealth transfer programs.
Point of order.
They believe...
Mr. Chair, point of order.
The gentleman from Alabama will suspend. The gentleman will state his point of order.
My point of order is I believe that I would like the gentleman's words taken down for the reference to certain members of this body as socialists. We regard that as a...
Mr. Speaker.
Suspend. The gentleman from Alabama will please take a seat. The clerk will report the words. Recognize. For what purpose does the gentleman from Alabama rise?
Mr. Speaker, as the record reflects, I have not referred to any particular
Does the
individual.
gentleman ask for unanimous consent?
I ask for unanimous consent to strike the particular use of one word that the folks on the other side of the aisle have objected to.
Does the gentleman withdraw the word or not?
Is there
Yes.
objection to the request?
That one word.
Fine.
Without objection, the words are withdrawn. The gentleman from Alabama may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of America, we all know what we're talking about here, and we all know what the definitional terms are, and I'm more than happy to resume this discussion off the House floor, but for whatever reason, I'm not permitted to use one word. Having said that, you can look at this chart, and you can see the kind of deficits that we have sustained over the last 4 years, and the threat that this poses to the United States of America. Now, this progressive people's budget, I submit to you, is nothing more than a Trojan horse. There's an old saying, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Why should anyone believe that the folks who have racked up these massive deficits that put America at risk are now going to change their stripes?
Time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me thank the gentleman for withdrawing the word socialist from his commentary. And at this point, let me recognize Ms. Waters from California for 1 minute. Thank
The
you.
gentleman from California is recognized for
And
1
may I
minute.
inquire of the chair how much time both sides have?
The gentleman from Arizona has 9.5 minutes remaining, at 9.25, and the gentleman from Indiana has 3 3/4 minutes remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Arizona, from California.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaking Member. The gentleman from Alabama evidently has amnesia. The Clinton administration eliminated the deficit and left a balanced budget. It was the Bush administration that created the deficit. I rise in strong support for this, the Progressive Caucus, alternative balanced people's budget. During the last administration, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle maxed out our nation's credit card for wars and tax cuts for the rich, all the while saying deficits don't matter. Now they're using our deficit crisis as a rationale to undermine programs that they have never supported and push a divisive social agenda that's a sideshow to our budget debate. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, this country is not broke. We've spent our money on wars and tax credits for the very rich, and now it's time to entertain the people's budget, a balanced budget. The Ryan budget breaks our promise to these American families by expecting them to bear the entire burden of deficit reduction, neglecting the fact that just 4 months ago, my colleagues insisted on the opposite side of the aisle on $80 billion in tax cuts for the richest 2% of individuals in this country. This is a balanced budget. I ask my colleagues to support this very responsible, balanced budget.
Gentleman from Indiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We reserve the balance of our time.
The gentleman reserves the balance of his time. The gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me relinquish 1 minute to Mr. John Lewis, Congressman Lewis, for his comments. 1 minute.
The gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague from Arizona for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I have never been one to stand silent in the face of injustice. Today, I see before us one of the greatest betrayals in American history, the betrayal of our seniors, the disabled who rely on Medicare for their health care. We have made a social compact with our seniors, and the Republican budget breaks that compact. It is a disgrace and a shame. Where is our sense of fairness? Where is our outrage? We can and we must do better. Republicans head down a very dangerous path. We cannot, we must not, and we will not balance our budget on the back of the people who can least afford it. Our seniors, the disabled, the poor, the hungry, they have done nothing wrong. They do not deserve to bear the burden of these budget cuts. Support and vote for the people's budget. It is the right budget, it is fair, and it is just. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. Does the gentleman from Indiana continue to reserve?
We reserve the balance of our time.
Gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee.
The gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
My heart pains me for this day and this budget for America. Some of us might feel as the President does. It's a question of whether or not we are saying to the American people that they are not understanding, or that we who are fighting simply are stupid. It's a time when you want to reflect on how great a country we live in. And it hurts my heart when I see individuals putting on the floor of the House a budget that unfairly targets low-income communities and senior citizens while protecting the wealthiest Americans, Americans who I care about, and simply eliminating any sense of responsibility for working and middle-class Americans. The people's budget, it saves Medicare. Those are working Americans. Those are Americans that are middle class. And then, of course, what about our disabled persons? Do you think that they are only classified as low income? These are individuals who become seniors or disabled who need to have the kind of sacrifice. Look what happens. The people's budget protects those who cannot protect themselves. And finally, I ask these individuals, is there any shared sacrifice? Do you believe in helping all those who are in need? This is a good budget. Support the people.
The gentlewoman, please suspend. Gentleman from Indiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I inquire as to the time on both sides?
The gentleman from Indiana has 3 3/4 minutes remaining, and the gentleman from Arizona has 6 1/4 remaining.
Mr. Chairman, we reserve the balance.
Thank you.
The gentleman reserves.
Let me recognize Mr. Congressman Blumenauer for 1 minute.
The gentleman from Oregon is recognized for 1 minute, without objection.
We've been greeted with a Republican budget that is a profoundly negative view of the future, and you've heard some of the reasons. I want to focus on just one. It doesn't just ignore the infrastructure deficit of America falling apart, over $2 trillion of unmet needs, as referenced by my friend from Minnesota. It makes it worse. A 31% cut in already inadequate funding for national infrastructure. The progressive budget hears the needs of the American public and actually agrees with the truckers, the U.S. Chamber, local governments, the AAA of America, indeed the Deficit Commission, all suggested that for the first time since 1993 we raise the gas tax. My Republican friends have lost track of their Republican roots, where Republicans used to believe in infrastructure. Lincoln, Eisenhower raised the gas tax. Reagan raised the gas tax. This budget is a profound investment in infrastructure. It will put millions to work renewing and rebuilding America.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Arizona.
Let me yield 30 seconds to the gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Ellison.
The gentleman from Minnesota is recognized for 30 seconds.
The people's budget contains a provision for infrastructure development and a national infrastructure bank. I want to agree wholeheartedly with Congressman Blumenauer. We can not only put America back to work, but we can strengthen the infrastructure that will make it safe to go across a bridge. We cannot neglect the bridges and the roads, the high-speed optic fibers, cables, and all these things that our country needs for a 21st century infrastructure. It's a jobs program. The people's budget is talking about jobs.
The gentleman's time has expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from Hawaii, Ms. Haruno.
The gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of the people's budget. I heard mentioned that our country was based on the goal of equal opportunity. Yes, but what about injustice for all? That is in our Pledge of Allegiance, and we pledge that on the floor of this House every single day. This budget is not justice for all. I was visited by advocates from Hawaii who support funding for the disabled, for the blind, for our seniors, 8th graders. They were astounded by the anti-people priorities in the Ryan budget. Budget has to be fair. That means the multimillionaires in our country have to pay their fair share. That means the oil industries that's making money hand over fist, getting billions of dollars, have to pay their fair share. That means the companies that ship our jobs overseas have to pay their fair share. And then we can invest in the future. That means education, energy self-sufficiency, infrastructure. I urge my colleagues to vote for this people's budget. Aloha.
The gentlewoman's time has expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arizona.
Let me yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from California, Ms. Chu.
I rise to support the people's budget. It will create millions of jobs and turn the deficit into a surplus in 10 years. Republicans have unveiled their 2012 Road to Ruin budget, but instead of focusing on creating jobs, Republicans are ripping the bandage off our economy before the scar has even healed. The people's budget focuses on real solutions. Instead of billion-dollar handouts to big oil, we're investing in job creation and loans for higher education. Instead of ending Medicare as we know it, we keep our promise of secure health care for seniors. Instead of giving more breaks to millionaires and billionaires, we're committed to tax relief for the middle class. We must eliminate the deficit, but we must do it responsibly, and that means taking the Republican target off the backs of working families.
Yields back. Gentleman from Indiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I yield 2.5 minutes to the gentleman from Wisconsin.
The gentleman is recognized for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise today in opposition to the Congressional Progressive Caucus substitute budget. One of the concerns I have, and as an American citizen, a small business owner for 30 years, is this document right here. This is the Internal Revenue Code. It is 9,959 pages long. This plan that is offered up today will add hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of additional complexity. Recently, we all heard about a large U.S. corporation that had billions of dollars in profits and paid zero taxes. Mr. Chairman, the reason they were able to do that is because their attorneys knew what was in and buried in this document. Do we really need to make it more complicated and more complex? I think not. I also oppose this because they talk about the benefits to lower-income Americans, and yet by removing the 2001 and 2000 tax credits and tax rates and returning them to their previous levels, you will increase taxes on the poorest Americans from 10% to 15%, a full 50% increase in their tax rates. And on top of it, small business owners will see their tax rates go to 45%. 45%. Now think of the small business owner in northeast Wisconsin who will also pay an 8% state income tax, will pay a 5 or 6% sales tax, will pay 50 cents a gallon gasoline tax, will pay property tax, will pay FICA tax, will pay Social Security tax. I'm beginning to wonder if all they will do in their life is pay taxes. I urge my colleagues to reject this proposal, and I yield back the remainder of my time.
The gentleman yields back the remainder of his time. The gentleman from Arizona.
If I may, I'd like to yield 10 seconds to the gentleman from Wisconsin for a simple inquiry. As part of the fairness in our tax code, I'd like to ask, is it fair that, let's say, Warren Buffett should pay a lower income tax rate than his receptionist? Is that fairness in our tax?
I would concur that it's not fair.
The gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you. Let me yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New York, Congressman Rangel.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. This substitute budget is listed as the progressive budget, and for reasons that clearly that anyone could take a deep breath and take a look at this as opposed to what Mr. Ryan is presenting to as Republican. It's really what our country is all about. Build on the great things that we have done and make certain that the young people that follow us would be able to say that we have improved their opportunities. Make no mistake about it. Borrowing trillions of dollars and paying interest on that money puts us in a very bad economic position, not only in our country, but throughout the world. And I assume that none of us here want to spend a lot of time saying and pointing the finger at each other about how we got to be where we are. But one thing is abundantly clear, that if America is going to be progressive, it has to find a progressive solution in order to get out of that. And I have said consistently that when we start looking at how we're going to treat our family in terms of priority with limited income.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Can I get 30 seconds more?
I yield an additional 30 seconds.
The gentleman has yielded 30 seconds, but if you'll suspend for 1 minute. The gentleman from Arizona, before yielding the time, has a minute and a half remaining, and the gentleman from Indiana has 2 minutes remaining.
Oh, boy.
So the gentleman from Arizona has 1.5 minutes remaining.
What?
I have to keep the last minute 30 for.
Okay.
I will retain the minute 30 for closing.
The gentleman reserves?
Yes.
Or yields? Gentleman from Indiana? And the gentleman from Arizona, if you'll suspend it, the gentleman from Indiana has the right to close. The gentleman from Indiana.
Yes, and I reserve my right to close. Are we saying that they don't want to use any more time, or?
Gentleman from Arizona has a minute and a half remaining, and you have 2 minutes remaining.
And I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Arizona.
I would ask unanimous consent for Congressman Fattah for unanimous.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I seek unanimous consent to in support of the progressive budget substitute. Thank you.
Without.
I also would request, Mr. Chairman, unanimous consent to extend and revise comments and to submit extraneous material for the record. Thank you.
The gentleman's request is actually covered by general debate.
Thank you. At this point, for closing on our allotted time, let me ask the gentleman from California for his comments. Mr. Honda.
Is recognized for the remainder balance. So the gentleman is recognized.
Balance of the time.
The gentleman is recognized for a minute and a half.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In closing, budgets are more than collections of numbers. They are a statement of our values. The Congressional Progressive Caucus budget is the reflection of values and priorities of working families in this country. Our budget charts a path that keeps America exceptional while addressing the most pressing problems facing the nation today. Our budget eliminates the deficit and stabilizes the debt by 2021. It does this in a manner consistent with the aspirations of the American people. It does this by restoring our economic competitiveness so we can all experience the fullest definition of the American dream, that each of our children will do better than we did. We did not set these goals arbitrarily. Our budget was crafted by listening to the American people. In poll after poll, they are telling us that they want us to preserve Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, to make higher education more affordable, to expand job training programs, and to invest in roads, research, and above all, great schools for our children. We can do all these things and eliminate our deficit. We have a moral imperative to do so. The people's budget is fair. It is just. It is a step towards moving this debate back to the true center. I urge a yes vote on the Republican, I'm sorry, on the progressive budget, and it is the people's budget. Please vote for our amendment. Thank you.
The gentleman's time has expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Indiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In closing, I'd first like to
2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In closing, I'd like to recall the words of the gentleman from South Carolina who spoke about the honesty of this proposed amendment. And I think it was an appropriate thing to say. This is an honest proposal. I believe that the proponents of this amendment believe everything that's in the amendment as a possible solution. But honesty, Mr. Chairman, does not equal responsibility. This isn't the people's budget that's being proposed. It's the blank check budget. You see, it doesn't force any choices. It spends $13 trillion over 10 years. It taxes the American people. It has the federal government confiscate from the American people $16 trillion additional dollars over 10 years. That's not forcing choices. That's not being responsible. Every family in this nation understands that when they prepare a budget, you have to make choices. There are different priorities. This just opens up, by fiat, the right of the federal government to dip into the wallet of every American. I heard a lot about tax cuts for the rich, Mr. Chairman. I want to be clear that the budget that came out of the Budget Committee calls for revenue-neutral tax reform. We are motivated by the same reform principles that's in the President's Fiscal Commission, to broaden the tax base and lower tax rates for everybody. You know, I was looking at some statistics. The bottom 50% of taxpayers pay less than 3% of income taxes. In fact, 47% of individuals pay no federal income tax whatsoever. Our idea is tax neutral. It's revenue neutral. It lowers the tax rates for everybody, makes all of us pay something, and it doesn't give tax cuts for the rich. We're planning to take away the loopholes so that those who are better off than we are can't take advantage of high-priced lobbyists or anything like that. I ask my colleagues to vote no to this proposed amendment.
The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Arizona. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the Chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
Mr. Chairman, on that I ask for a recorded vote.
Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Arizona will be postponed. The committee will rise informally to receive a message. And we will
vote. The House will be in order. The Chair will receive a message.
Mr. Speaker, a message from the Senate.
Mr. Speaker,
Madam Secretary.
I have been directed by the Senate to inform the House that the Senate has agreed to H.Con. Res. 43, providing for a conditional adjournment of the House of Representatives and a conditional recess or adjournment of the Senate.
The committee will resume its sitting.
The committee will be in order. It is now in order to consider Amendment Number 4, printed in Part B of House Report 112-62. For what purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey rise? Amendment at the desk. The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment Number 4, in the nature of a substitute, printed in Part B of House Report Number 112-62.
Pursuant to House Resolution 223, the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Garrett, and a member opposed, each will control 15 minutes. The Chair recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey.
And I thank the Chair.
The committee will be in order. Gentleman from New Jersey.
And I recognize myself, yield myself 1 minute.
Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of the Republican Study Committee substitute that's now on the floor. This substitute amends and builds upon the great work of Chairman Ryan and the entire House Budget Committee. And while I do come to the floor and support Chairman Ryan's proposal, the RSC wanted to put forth a proposal on the floor today that went even a step further. So we named our budget today the Honest Solution Budget, because we know that what we are proposing will not be easy. Why? Because real solutions are not necessarily easy solutions. But given the dangerous conditions of our nation's fiscal situation, we must recognize that tough choices must be made and must be made now. And the RSC believes that we can do better than any of the budgets on the floor today. So we have a budget that will, first of all, ensure that our nation spends responsibly by freezing total discretionary spending at 2008 levels. The RSC budget further ensures that our nation's security will be met by meeting Defense Secretary Gates' defense requests. The RSC budget puts the non-defense discretionary spending on a sustainable path. In addition, the RSC budget strengthens Medicare's long-term finances, and most importantly,
the gentleman's time has
unlike
expired.
any other budget on the floor today, will balance within our lifetime.
The gentleman's time has expired. For what purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey rise?
Claim time in reserve right now, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman is recognized. The gentleman reserves. Gentleman from New Jersey.
At this time, I will yield 1 minute to the gentleman, the chairman of the Republican Study Committee.
The gentleman is
gentleman.
recognized for 1 minute.
Thank the gentleman for yielding, and I want to thank all the members of the Republican Study Committee, Mr. Speaker, for their work on this budget. And I also want to thank Chairman Ryan for the work on his budget and the committee's work there, too. In particular, the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Garrett, Mr. Mulvaney from South Carolina, Mr. McClintock for their work in putting this together. Look, the RSC budget, as the gentleman from New Jersey has mentioned, keeps tax rates low because we believe in economic growth, starts the process of saving Medicare and Social Security, protects national defense, which after all is that area we are supposed to constitutionally spend taxpayer dollars. But most importantly, what the Republican Study Committee budget does is it balances. It does what every single family, every single small business owner, every single state government, local government has to do. It actually puts forth a budget that balances, lives within your means, doesn't spend more than you take in, gets to balance within a definable period of time, and that's why we think this is appropriate, particularly when you think about the financial situation, fiscal situation our nation is in. And so I stand here in support of the budget and commend the gentleman from New Jersey for the great work that he's done.
Time has expired. The gentleman from New Jersey.
To provide as much time as I need, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you. If the Republican budget is a doubling down on the policies that brought us to the brink, which is contained in this budget, my brother from New Jersey presents a budget which I think quadruples down on the economic policies and lack of optimism in the American people. The budget believes we cannot, as President Kennedy said a little over 50 years ago, bear any burden and meet any hardship in order to better our nation. That's what America is all about, regardless of your party persuasion. This budget gives trillions in income tax breaks to the wealthiest Americans. We both agree on that. You think it's a good policy. We think it's a horrible policy. And at the same time cuts $18 billion. Let me just take one example. The S-chip program, $18 billion cut to our children, our own children, our grandchildren. You must be kidding me. This budget gives trillions in estate breaks to the wealthiest Americans. Many people having estates pay no taxes. Yet this slashes funding for Pell Grants for our kids, our grandchildren, to go to college. This budget gives trillions in tax breaks to corporations that have been shipping jobs overseas. But as our constituents, in your district, in my district, in everybody's district, to take a 20% cut in the scheduled benefits to Social Security. It's easy to sit here as a congressman, waiting until you turn 70. Why are you smiling? To retire with benefits you've earned. But you're asking this of our asphalt layers, our secretaries, and our teachers. Comes down to a clear set of priorities. Mr. Chairman, if your priorities are to cut taxes for the wealthy on the backs of the retirees, then I think that this second budget is the budget for you. But if you believe in an America that protects our seniors, our children, the disabled, our veterans, levels the playing field, invests in future generations, then I urge you to stand with us. And I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman reserves the balance of his time.
And reserves the balance.
Gentleman from New Jersey.
And at this time, Mr. Speaker, I would like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from South Carolina who recognizes the fact that we must live within our means now, and unlike the gentleman from New Jersey, does not want to put additional burdens on future generations. Mr. Mulvaney.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Chairman, I would say that it's not easy to do. Why are we here? We're here for a single purpose. We take what the Republican committee has done and simply laid out for the American people how hard it is to balance the budget within 10 years. It is not easy to do. But to sit and to hear these onslaughts about how we're giving tax breaks from a group of people that promised that they would not raise taxes on folks who make less than $250,000 and then repeatedly violated that promise over the course of the last 2 years is simply hard to take. This is the only budget that we will get a chance to vote on this week that both balances the budget within 10 years and does not raise taxes. We take what the Republican committee has done, we build on it to show exactly how deep the hole is that we have dug for ourselves and how hard it is to get out. But to suggest that we do it on the backs of the poor is simply disingenuous. Thank you.
The gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New Jersey.
Mr. Chairman, how much time do we have?
The gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Garrett, has 12 minutes. And the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Pasquale, has 12 and a half minutes.
With that, I will provide the 2 minutes to the gentleman from Oregon, who is absolutely on target in most of these issues dealing with the budget as we move forward.
The gentleman from Oregon is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate my colleague's courtesy. The words ringing in my ears for a moment about the Democrats having increased taxes lately. There is a collective amnesia on the side of our Republican friends who forget that a critical part of President Obama's Recovery Act that was passed by the last Congress, 42% of which was tax cuts or relief, included a tax cut for every working American. Kind of forgot about that. As a practical matter, Mr. Chairman, what we have done is to move forward under our initiatives with something that will enable us to rebuild and renew America. What we've been given from our friends here with this alternative budget, from my good friend from New Jersey, I do appreciate, because this is where the Republican Party wants to go. The Ryan budget is bad enough, will be dead on arrival in the Senate, and will be resoundingly rejected as Americans see what is happening, taking away the retirement health care security of Americans. 230 million Americans will be returned to the tender mercies of the private insurance market. Remember, the private insurance market didn't want to insure senior citizens in an affordable fashion with comprehensive coverage. That's why we had to have Medicare in the first place. And now the trick is to provide a voucher to insurance companies, hoping that they will step up and fill the gap. When you look at how private insurance premiums have more than doubled in the last 10 years, you see what a hollow promise this is and what a serious problem it's going to be for American families trying to plan for their future. This is the vision that we have from our Republican friends. Not only take the Republican Budget Committee, go beyond it in terms of more benefits for those who need it the least.
The gentleman's time has expired. Does the gentleman from New Jersey yield more time? Without objection, the gentleman from Maryland will control the time.
Thank you.
Gentleman from New Jersey.
So at this time, I would like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from California who has no amnesia but recognizes the fact that we do no favor for this generation by putting the burden for future constraints on our children and our grandchildren. The gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank the gentleman. This nation's on a collision course with a sovereign debt crisis, the magnitude of which has never been known to this country. This is not some moonless night on the Atlantic. We are barreling full speed toward that iceberg of debt in the full light of day, and we can all see it dead ahead. The Ryan budget turns the ship around just enough to avoid hitting that iceberg. The RSC budget does it with an added safety margin by incorporating more of the Debt Commission's recommendations and implementing them faster. Mr. Chairman, we know the challenge. We see the American dream at risk, and we know that we have but a fleeting moment in history to avoid the hardest times our nation has ever known. We can act now, place our retirement systems on sound financial footings, arrest the debilitating spiral of debt that threatens the very survival of our nation, and return our economy to the prosperity that is known when it enjoyed what Jefferson called a wise and frugal government. Or we can continue on our present course until we crash into the ice-cold and hard reality that we can all see dead ahead.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield 2 minutes to the Vice Chairman of the Democratic Caucus, Mr. Becerra of California.
The gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
3 minutes.
The gentleman is recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank the gentleman, and I probably won't even use the 3 minutes. Mr. Speaker, budgets are a reflection of our values and our priorities. Jobs, economic growth, fiscal discipline, fairness, shared sacrifice. Most Americans talk about this all the time when they're at their kitchen table. It's not that difficult. So, quite honestly, the question before us is not whether to reduce the deficit, but how. Budgets involve trade-offs. The Republican budget that is presented to us today, along with this Republican Study Committee alternative, would say that we must continue the tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans in this country. We must continue to give a millionaire about $130,000 in tax cuts in this budget, even though we are facing the largest deficits our country has experienced. At the same time, the choice that this Republican budget makes is to say to seniors, we must end Medicare as we know it. We must eliminate the guarantee that you as a senior have had for more than 35 years under Medicare to choose your doctor and your hospital. And we must impose upon you an additional $6,000 in health care costs because these deficits are so big. So as the President said a couple of days ago, under the Republican budget, you would need to take 22 seniors paying $6,000 additional dollars to cover the cost of giving one millionaire in this country the $130,000 tax cut. We must do that under the Republican budget. Democrats have said we must not do that. We must do this differently, and we must invest again in our people. On health care, we don't believe that Americans who are seniors should be given a coupon instead of a guarantee. But that's what the Republican budget does. It says you're going to get a voucher, a coupon essentially. Once you've used the extent of the value of that coupon, the rest of the money to pay for your health care comes out of your pocket. That's why the President said $6,000 additional dollars for each senior under Medicare under the Republican plan. Coupon care instead of Medicare. That's what you must have under the Republican budget. Democrats say we must invest in Medicare and find the cuts to get rid of the waste in Medicare that we know exists, the duplication of services that seniors don't need. We can do this without denying seniors guaranteed benefits. And finally, if I go to the next chart, we must create jobs, but the Republican budget, most of the leading economists tell us, will cost us 1.7 million jobs. Not create, cost us 1.7 million jobs. Under the Bush recession, 8 million Americans lost their job. The month that George Bush handed the keys to Barack Obama, we hemorrhaged nearly 800,000 jobs. We must do this right.
The gentleman's time has
Republican
expired.
budget proposal. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from New Jersey.
So at this time, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Georgia who, just like the gentleman from California, understands that we must not sink the ship of state as the other side of the aisle would do by excessive tax burdens and debt. The gentleman from Georgia.
Gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 1 minute.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And, you know, what's great about being here today and talking about the Ryan plan is it's a blueprint. And blueprints you can do a couple things to. You can add to, you can take away from. And what we've heard from the progressives a minute ago is plunder the people's plan, rips the pages out of the history, out of the future of this nation and for our children and our grandchildren. But the Republican Study Committee, it adds to it. It actually takes it a step further. It saves the taxpayers more money by providing savings starting with 2006 levels and going to 2008 levels. But what we have to recognize is the debt and the deficit problems we have here today are not because we are taxed too little. It's because we have spent too much. And it is a result of 2 failed years of more government, more taxes, and more spending that we've seen. It's time to put that in history. Let's put it in the drawer. Let's move on, and let's pass the Republican Study Committee plan, because I can assure you this, it doesn't go where the President and the liberals of this House want to go, and that's into the wallets of the taxpayers of this nation.
The gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Bipartisan Fiscal Commission, no fringe group, said that the Republican plan was unbalanced because it doesn't ask for shared sacrifice. It's a lopsided approach. This budget takes it even farther off the deep end, and I will yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Andrews.
The gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes. Without objection.
I thank the Speaker. There is no question that the country has to reduce the deficit by restraining spending. That's why we favor having Medicare get the same deal on prescription drugs the VA does, which would save $24 billion a year. But there is a question about the future of Medicare. And today we're going to take a vote. Will Medicare prosper or perish? Will Medicare survive or die? That's the issue before the House today. The fact is, the Republican plan puts an insurance company between our seniors and their doctors, and that is wrong. The fact is that the Republican plan does not reduce health care costs. Hospitals will not charge less. Doctors will not charge less. The government will pay less, and seniors will pay more. $6,000 per senior per year. The fact is that this is all being done not to reduce the deficit, but to reduce taxes of the wealthiest people in America. The fact is we should not have this, and the fact is this. We can have an America that doesn't have red ink in its budget, but does have Medicare for its seniors. Let's make the choice that our constituents sent us here to make. Yes, let's sensibly reduce spending, as we did yesterday on a bipartisan basis. But this is the wrong time to end Medicare. We will fight this effort, and we will prevail. I yield back.
Yields back. The chair recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey.
And at this time, I would like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Kansas.
Gentleman from Kansas is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to support the RSC budget because we cannot wait, as the other side seems to indicate, to get our fiscal house in order, and the RSC budget will put us on that path even faster. Mr. Chairman, the American people are tired of their tax dollars going to Washington, D.C. with nothing in return but empty promises and federal strings. They are tired of adding to the national debt with none of the promised jobs. People across my state of Kansas, indeed all across the country, want their power back from Washington. Our founding fathers got this concept of federalism right, and it's time we return government power from Washington bureaucrats and politicians back to the American people. Block grants of federal Medicaid dollars to the states will do just that by allowing states and people closest to the people to use their ingenuity and creativity to make Medicaid dollars work more effectively if you really care about the poor, Mr. Chairman. There are currently 455 Medicaid waivers, and we need to make certain.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you.
The gentleman
I ask that we allow the flexibility in the Medicaid system through a block grant system that returns the powers of federalism back to the states, and the RSC budget will do just that, Mr. Chairman. It's the right thing to do. It's the right time now to balance our budget in this way. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
The gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Rangel.
The gentleman from New York is recognized without
you.
objection.
Thank you for this opportunity. Unlike so many of my colleagues, I don't have any charts or anything to point out the direction which I would want my great country to come. But I do have 40 young minds that come from the Frederick Douglass Academy, come from my alma mater on Lenox Avenue, come from Harlem. And in these minds are the dreams and the aspirations of all young people that want to be a part of the progress that this nation has made. Most of them, their parents have never had an opportunity to go to college, but have been the recipients of Pell Grants and other kinds of educational benefits. Most of their parents and grandparents have depended on Medicaid and Medicare. Most of these kids have dreams that most of your kids have today. It just seems to me that when they go home, they should not be able to say that they witness a protection of the wealthiest people in the United States, but they should go home and to say that their dreams can be acquired, our nation can be stronger, and they want to be partners in making certain that America can be all that she can be. So as we welcome them, they're only symbolic. They're only representatives of the young people of our great country, and I hope we can see clear to support them. Thank you for the opportunity.
Gentleman from New Jersey.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I would like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Arizona who realizes that the young people would do best if we not put additional burdens of tax burdens of over $40,000 or $50,000 on their birth coming into this country by the actions by not living fiscally responsibly.
The gentleman from Arizona is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. I rise in support of the RSC budget with a deficit of $1.6 trillion, a debt of $14 trillion. It's no surprise that we've got to do something. We have to do something dramatic. This budget actually balances over a 9-year period, and it reforms the programs that are important to many Americans to make them solvent and sustainable over time. The proposals from the other side of the aisle simply don't do that. They ignore the time bomb that we have in these programs. So I commend the RSC staff and members for putting this together. This is a good budget. We ought to support it to put our nation on a path of financial stability and security. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The chair would remind the gentleman from Maryland that the time remaining is 4.5 minutes, and the gentleman from New Jersey has 8 minutes. Who seeks recognition? Gentleman from New Jersey? Gentleman from Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The time bomb that's ticking is the time bomb on the Medicare guarantee. With that, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from California, the ranking member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, Mr.
The gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I can't express my concern with greater alarm about this budget. It is a budget that's going to inflict terrible harm on Americans from all walks of life while protecting the wealthiest taxpayers in America, both individuals and corporations. Now, if I give the benefit of the doubt to our Republican sponsors of their budget proposal that they're sincere, they are speaking from an ideological point of view. They want to try a social experiment in this country. But if they fail to live up to what they say they're going to accomplish, there's going to be tremendous harm. We have a social contract with seniors to provide affordable, accessible, comprehensive health care under Medicare. And they want to take Medicare and end it and tell those people to go to private insurance companies. We have estimates that the average senior will face cost increases of $6,000 when the program begins. And it could be over $11,000 per beneficiary in later years. But right away, to add insult to injury, they would reopen the donut hole under the Part D prescription drug benefit, meaning people still have to pay all of the cost of their drugs, reversing what the Affordable Care Act provided. But most of their cuts are coming from the Medicaid program. They want to take Medicaid and turn it into a block grant. Medicaid accounts for 43% of total long-term care spending in the U.S. Most of it goes to seniors and disabled people who are in nursing homes. If the states don't have enough money in their block grant, are they going to dump these people? These are human beings, and you're playing with their lives. This means real harm will be inflicted where Medicaid spending is the greatest. By cutting reimbursement rates, Medicaid will lose providers. Nursing home quality and staffing levels will decline. Reject this budget. Don't experiment on the most vulnerable of our population.
The gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from New Jersey.
At this time, I would like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from South Carolina who does not believe it's a social experiment to say to do what all families have to do is live within our means. The gentleman from South Carolina.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Folks, no prepared remarks, no fancy speeches. I brought with me a financial calculator, and regardless of how you calculate the numbers, America is spending too much money. You know, for 3 years in a row, we've spent over $1 trillion more than we're bringing in as a nation. We're in over $14 trillion in debt. This budget puts us on a very clear path to paying back the national debt, to reducing and ending deficits in a very timely manner, to protect the future for our children and our grandchildren, our most precious resource as Americans. I urge my colleagues to get behind this budget, vote for it, and let's put the American spending in priority. Let's stop the spending insanity here in Washington, D.C., and let's do what we tell the folks back home we're going to do, and let's get our fiscal house in order. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Maryland.
We can get our fiscal house in order and do this in a balanced way without ending the Medicare guarantee. And with that, I recognize the gentleman from New York, Mr. Israel.
The gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank my friend. Mr. Speaker, every budget is about the bottom line, and here's the Ryan budget bottom line.
I said 30 seconds.
The chair stands corrected. The gentleman is recognized for 30 seconds.
I thank my friend, Mr. Speaker. Every budget is about the bottom line, and here is the Ryan budget bottom line. If you are making over $1 million, you get a $100,000 tax cut. If you are a senior on Medicare, you get an extra $12,000 medical bill. If you make over $1 million, you win the lottery. If you're a senior citizen, you lose your Medicare. Mr. Speaker, they say this is about balancing the budget, but they are trying to balance the budget by giving tax cuts to people earning over $1 million and taking Medicare away from our seniors. That is no way to balance the budget, and I yield back.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey.
First, may I ask the chair how much time?
The gentleman from New Jersey has 7 minutes remaining, and the gentleman from Maryland has 2 minutes remaining.
All right. So at this time, then, I would like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Virginia who recognizes the fact that the solution to all the problems in the world, as the other side may think, is not raising taxes on anyone and certainly not raising the taxes on those who produce the jobs in this country. The gentleman from Virginia.
I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I rise in strong support of the Republican Study Committee budget alternative. The fact of the matter is we're broke. The federal budget deficit is projected to exceed $1 trillion for the next 2 fiscal years and exceed $800 billion annually for at least the next decade. We cannot sustain this path without bankrupting our country. Congressman Ryan's budget proposal is a great start and sets us on a path to bringing the budget into balance. However, that proposal takes 28 years to do so. I support and will vote for his budget, but I am concerned about what will happen to it if future Congresses are not as willing to make the tough choices that are necessary to see this budget path to completion. That's why I strongly support the RSC budget, which balances the federal budget within 9 years. Ultimately, we need a constitutional amendment to require a balanced budget to force all future Congresses to make these tough decisions. But the RSC budget does the best job of getting our fiscal house in order as quickly as possible, and now I urge all members to support it and yield back balance.
The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
Thank the gentleman. The gentleman from Indiana.
The gentleman from Indiana is recognized for how many minutes?
The gentleman from Indiana is recognized for 1 minute.
For 1 minute. Without objection. Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in strong support of the Republican Study Committee budget alternative today. I want to commend the gentleman from New Jersey for his courageous leadership on this issue. You know, they say the first step in dealing with addiction is recognize that you've got a problem. Years of fighting runaway federal spending by both political parties here in Washington, D.C., I'm convinced Washington, D.C. is addicted to spending. and it's time that we got serious. I'm a strong supporter of the Republican budget authored by Paul Ryan, and I'm a strong supporter of the Republican Study Committee alternative offered by Mr. Garrett. The legislation before us today would actually put us on a pathway to achieve a balanced federal budget by the year 2020. There are hard choices in this budget, but it's time the American people broke this addiction. It's a time that people in both political parties came together and played it straight with the American people and said there are tough choices ahead. We can do them in a way that's humane. We can do them in a way that represents fiscal discipline and reform, but we have to act. We have to act now. I urge my colleagues to support this important alternative.
The gentleman's time has expired. The chair recognizes the